Hi, and welcome to Tuesdays with Tammy. I'm so excited about these next guests that I have on my Tuesday show. Let me tell you a little bit about them. So first we have Devorah Story. She was born in Alabama and raised in Georgia. Devorah grew up singing in church, and then later she pursued a degree in psychology, and upon graduation, she began working with children with autism. In 2013, Devorah gave birth to a little boy named Christian, and then she began her modeling journey, where she was shown on magazine covers and in magazine features and advertising campaigns, and she's certainly no stranger to runway. Devorah can be spotted on 2 national hair campaigns with Cream of Nature for Pure Honey, as well as their Argan Oil hair color. And when Devorah isn't busy, she's being a mother and a model, but she's also created a forum called Co-Parenting, and it's entitled The Co-Parent Goals, which supports positive interactions among separated parents. Our guest, along with Devorah, is Cedric Idudu. Cedric was born in Lagos, Nigeria, and he was raised in Champaign, Illinois. Cedric was raised in the church as well, and he made his way to Atlanta, Georgia, and graduated from Morehouse College in 2009 with a marketing degree. Shortly after graduating, he began his career at an IT consulting firm. And in 2013, Cedric also became a father, which fueled his motivation to become an entrepreneur. He's the owner of a lucrative tax office. He started a transportation company. He started a credit repair service and created a financial literacy consulting firm. After becoming co-founder of a nonprofit called ep5, Cedric and his partner created a clothing line inspired by his nonprofit. Cedric's love for fitness moved into TV, and he made a TV appearance with American Ninja Warrior as a contestant in 2017 through 2019, where he also placed at the top of the contestant participants each year. Cedric is now also working in the co-parenting platform, and it's called the Co-Parent Goals. So as you probably figured out by now, Cedric and Devorah are the co-parents of a wonderful son named Christian. Hi, Cedric and Devorah, welcome. I'm glad to have you.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I want to start off by first asking you guys, let's just jump right into it. How did you meet and what drew you to one another?
Go ahead. So we met in 2010 at the YMCA. And I was there working, he was there working out. And so it just kind of happened from there. What else? I think that's pretty much the gist of the beginning.
Basically, she chose me, and this is what happened. But no, yeah. So we met at the gym.
Yeah, we met at the gym, and it was, we dated for about off and on for about 2 years before Christian came into with the pregnancy, before I became pregnant. It's about 2 years off and on, and from there, it was just a whole bunch of Devorah chasing Cedric. So that didn't work out for us. As you can see, we're co-parenting.
Yes.
So yeah, now we're just focusing on our son.
Okay. So I want to ask you, was it a very messy relationship? We're just gonna, jump right in. Was it a messy relationship? And then you guys decided, okay, you know what? We need to just make this work and co-parent as best we can for Christian? Or was it like an amicable end and you just realized, you know what? We're both great people, but we're not necessarily great together, and we can still be friends. How did that look?
You want to answer?
I think it was a combination of all. So I think everything that you just mentioned, it was a combination of all those just kind of combusted in one big bucket. I think that we were young. So a lot of the things that we didn't know. But it almost became so toxic that we both came to an agreement cohesively to say, you know what, at the end of the day, it's not about us. We know that we have a child, so it's probably best that we are apart, but then still be together in terms of like a parenting perspective. I do think that we both gave effort. I do think that Devorah probably gave a little more effort than what I did, but there's ages and stages, and with most men, they don't mature as fast as women. And I can honestly say she was probably way more mature than I was when I first initially met her. So we both just agreed to just part ways and continue to grow as parents and individuals. And then, I mean, we just felt that was the healthiest thing for us to do.
And I will say that I think Cedric gave us the PG-13 version because it wasn't really like a decision like we are, this just doesn't work. Like, let's go ahead and end this and we can just focus on our child. It wasn't painted pretty like that. Like it was tough. It was a very difficult decision. Like we literally fought for our relationship. And if you follow us on our co-parenting page, you'll see the story. Like we're trying to create the storyline for people so they can understand that this was what you see before you was not something that just happened overnight. It wasn't like, oh, we were broken up and now we're co-parenting. Like before you get to the part of where you can even co-parent with the person, that's a process in itself where you have to remove your emotions. And that was a process of us deciding. I mean, we never even had to sit down to say like, you know what, let's end this and focus on Christian. It was more like things happened where we were forced to just be done because it was just toxic. It wasn't healthy for either one of us. And so from there, there was a process where we just kind of had to grow our separate ways before we could even come back to the table to say, okay, you know what, let's put our kid first. And so, even that process is very difficult. I get a lot of comments, a lot of questions and DMs from people, and they want to know, they might have just broken up with their boyfriend or husband or or even wife or girlfriend. And they're like, I really, respect what you and Cedric are doing. Like, I don't think me and my co-parent will ever be there, but it's like, gosh, you're looking at a 7-year-long process. And it didn't start, the co-parenting started once we broke up, but co-parenting, and even back to our co-parenting platform, what we're trying to do is show you that even your relationship prior to the kid or lack thereof is going to affect how you're able to co-parent or put your child first. So it's a lot of things, like Cedric said, that kind of added to the bigger picture.
Yeah, and it sounds like to me that you guys both had to get to a place of accepting the fact that, okay, this relationship is over. It is not going to make it. Yeah. And we have created this awesome child between the two of us. And if we both want to have a part in his life, which is so crucial for the kid, then we have to figure out how to work together. So sounds like to me there was a lot of, first of all, accepting the situation, realizing it was what it was, and then figuring out what you guys had to do from the mature perspective to both have input and keep it balanced and grounded so that you could work together. Because honestly, there's a lot of couples out there who are great people individually, but not necessarily together, because it's something about the other person that just triggers, something inside the other person. It goes both ways. But sometimes they let their feelings for their personal self, individual self being hurt, interfere with what could potentially end up being a great co-parenting setup. Because even if you're not going to be together, it does not mean that, had you never dated, that you wouldn't have been friends, or now that you've dated or been married, either way, and created a child, that you cannot be friends going forward. But it doesn't mean that you have to be best friends to be great co-parents. Do you agree?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was just gonna say, I'm gonna let you speak on it, but I just want to say before I forget, you don't have to be friends or like each other at all to co-parent. It doesn't matter. Yes. It's just like family members. Like, sometimes it's just like you don't have to be on the same page to show love or whatever you need to do to
or
get
respect.
Down to respect. That's really what it boils down to. How many people do we go to work with every single day and we hate their guts?
Yes.
But you do what you need to do because you got to get that paycheck.
Right.
So you have anything to add to that?
So I kind of disagree a little bit. Okay. I think you do have to have, so obviously respect is number one, but I do think I guess I'm on the borderline because you don't necessarily have to like the opposite parent to be able to function correctly and co-parent. But I think if you can look at it from a friend perspective and you could actually get to the point where you can not necessarily care for them from like a intimate standpoint, but if you understand who the person you're dealing with, I think it becomes a lot easier to co-parent, right? Because if you don't like that person, period, there probably won't be time for you, the child, and the mom or dad can be together to do some type of group or family like oriented event. And I think that's important for the child to basically see the mother and father together in the same environment, because it still portrays like a healthy image. I think if you just completely hate the opposite parent, I think it makes it much harder to get along with them. But I do think if you have some type of small place doesn't have to be big, but a small place in your heart to be able to be around that particular parent and your child together, I think it just creates a better cohesiveness in terms of family. And even if we talk about our platform, the co-parenting goals, I think we're just trying to show people that it's possible. And I guess Dee's right. I did sugarcoat in terms of like what we went through, but I think on a more granular scale, it's more so about if you are in a broken home, you can still cooperate with your parents, still look like a together family, and still be in a healthy relationship so that your child can actually see how it is for the man to treat the woman right and vice versa. So I think you have to have a little bit more than respect for them. You have to actually be open and willing to actually make things work.
Right, right. And would you guys say that, a lot of what gets in the way in, between people who are trying to or who are about to be co-parents is competition? Do you think that sometimes parents use their child in such a way to compete with, like, I want the child to see me as their favorite parent or the best parent or the most loved parent? Do you ever, I know you just started this platform, but in talking to other couples or even amongst yourselves, was there ever an element where you felt like the parents were just simply trying to compete with being the favorite with the child? And so they would let certain things slide when, collectively the goal was to teach the child, certain good manners, but they would let things slide and not discipline the child because they don't want to come across as being the bad parent. I mean, actually that happens sometimes in people who are still married. What are your thoughts on parents feeling competitive with one another?
Yeah, I definitely think that's a thing for people to feel that pressure of like, because I mean, you think about the different rules in the different households, like now that you're co-parenting, it's not just one, set of rules that the kid has to abide by. They have two different households that they have to kind of regulate their mind to kind of, become like accustomed to. And so I think that's difficult for the parents. And I think that's even more the reason why, parents should be on the same page so that the two households don't look that different. But if we're being honest, that's not realistic for everyone. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some things that Christian can do at my house and there's some things that he can't do at Cedric's house. You know what I'm saying? So the idea would be, of course, like, let's meet somewhere in the middle, Cedric, so we can, make sure that we're on the same page with Christian, but everyone's not going to be on that level, where they can do that. But I definitely think that parents do go through that guilt phase of where they're like, especially when there's one parent who is, probably doing more of the discipline, things versus like the one who's like associated with more fun. Like for me and Cedric, I definitely, like, I don't feel guilty about it because I'm just who I am. And I'm just like, I'm raising a Black man. So I'm not really concerned with whether he likes me yet. Like, I feel like, he'll love me regardless. And even if it takes him like maybe 17 years to figure out, okay, this is why my mom was so hard on me or whatever. I'm just, I'm more about being his parent at this point, because at this point I am his parent. We can become friends when he's older. And when we lay those foundational, those foundational rules for him, then that's when we can kind of move past this phase of like just parenting and becoming friends. But for now, because Christian spends more of his time with me, I feel like I'm definitely more of the disciplinary. Cedric does discipline Christian too, but it looks a little bit different because obviously, he's with me more than he is Cedric, so it looks a little bit different. But I definitely feel like I'm doing more of the like all over his case, getting on his nerves and stuff. And then when him and Cedric are together, it's like they're having a good time. And if I was any other parent and we weren't on the same page, and I might be like, well, Cedric, you don't need to have fun with him all the time because like people worry about that. But the other thing is that you cannot control what happens outside of your home. You have to focus on the things that you can control, and the things that I can control is how we handle what the rules are in my home and in my space. And then whatever happens in Cedric's home, assuming that we can be on the same page about it. But even still, I can communicate it to him, but it's really up to him to decide like what he wants to do in his own home. And I think
so essentially you're saying that in order, like from both of your perspectives, in order to be able to meet certain co-parent goals, you have to be open to the possibility that you are going to parent differently. I know I heard you earlier mention you kind of try to meet somewhere in the middle, but you have to still be open to the possibility that it's not necessarily going to be the same, and there's only so much that you can control. Yeah. But my question now is, so for example, if Christian is with you, he misbehaves, and you say, okay, Christian, you cannot have your iPad or your cell phone. I don't know if he has either, but you cannot have that for 2 weeks or a week. And right. Then, but in the middle of that 1 or 2 weeks, it's time for him to go over to dad's and spend time with dad. Do you expect Cedric to uphold that disciplinary measure that you implemented, or are you expecting him to be like, no, here, you can have this while you're here? How does that work for you guys? What does that look like?
So there's even time. So I feel like Christian should be basically reprimanded if he does something when he's with D. If he comes with me, I feel like I should acknowledge that I know what he did wrong. Prime example, he did something at school, which I feel like it was completely unnecessary. He got reprimanded when he was with D, and then I found out about it. So me kind of stepping in as a father, I'm going to let you know I know what you did, and you came over to my house, and we usually have a good time, but this time, you're not going to play games. You're not going to go outside. We're not going to play football. You're not going to ride your bike. D more so is he's already been punished. Don't make it, I guess, an extension of his punishment when he gets with you. But me, I mean, automatically trying to step into that father figure and say, hey, I know what you did. Although you did it on Wednesday and you come with me on Thursday or Friday, I'm going to let you know what you did. And instead of you being able to do 5 or 6 fun extracurricular activities, we're only going to do 3. But she's more so like, just take it easy on him and do X, Y, and Z. But my point of view is, from a co-parenting perspective, that's hard to do because realistically, if you were in the same household, he would have gotten a lashing from me right after she finished. So I'm automatically triggered, and I'm automatically placed into that space to say, I know what you did. You shouldn't have did it. And I know it may have happened a few days ago, but you still are going to be in trouble. But she's like, no, like, don't do that because I've already did X, Y, and Z. So that's where I think we come into an unbalance, because I still want to let him know that he was wrong, but she's like, I've already did what I had to do.
I said that it's perfectly okay for you to let him know that he's wrong. Exactly. And what you actually said is what I agree with. I'm saying that let's not take all the fun away, because you got to remember, you're only with him 2 weekends out of the month. So you don't want to pair all of your time with him, which is 4 days out of the month, with negativity if he's done something bad. But like you said, if we normally do 6 fun things, then okay, we're only going to do 2 or 3 things, or you can even only do 1. But you still at some point, and it may not be that we're just not going to do any extra stuff, but we're going to do stuff here. Like, it's not like we can't still play card games, or you and daddy can't still go outside and play basketball or whatever. Like, there still has to be some type of interaction with you. Like, there just has to be a balance between like the discipline and the showing of love, because like he's not getting a lot of that physical attention or physical time with you. But I agree with you. I definitely think that you should have some type of, say in regards to like that actual scenario. Like, if something happens, I want you to be able to discipline him. Like, he needs to know. I just have an issue with the delayed disciplining, especially if I see that, okay, if he got in trouble on Monday and then you get him on Friday, and now 5 days later, but he's been doing better in school, like he's been getting his rewards, earning stuff or whatever, and now he has to come back down off of his, oh, I'm doing great, and now I'm back down to, okay, I did something very horrible or whatever. Uh-oh, this is froze.
What I wanted to say was I like hearing both of your perspectives. And I certainly agree with it needs to be some consistency across the board when it comes to the disciplinary measures. But I also agree with not necessarily double disciplining them, especially after it seems as if the kid has started to do better, because it becomes confusing. It could become confusing for the kid. But Cedric, I certainly think and appreciate the fact that you want him to know that he doesn't get to slide with everything just because he's going to dad's place, that you're at least letting him know, I know what you did and it's not acceptable. It's, you cannot do that. So
exactly.
Right. So so I want to go on from there and ask you, can you give us what would you say would be the top 5 co-parenting goals that people should try to reach for?
You want to go or I go?
Wait, 5 a piece from us or 5 together?
Okay, we'll say 6, 3 from each of you.
I'll go.
Okay, let me name mine first in case you say mine.
I can't think of it. Because I got my 3, and I want you to say my 3. Well, let's just go back and forth. My first one was communication.
That was mine.
Too late.
Okay, communication. Co-parent goals. Definitely putting your child first. Haha.
Okay. Communication, putting your child first.
Okay, number 3.
No, it's on me. I'm trying to take on mine. I would say commitment.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good.
I know. Yeah.
I wasn't gonna say that, but I'm number 4. Removing emotions.
Okay.
Number 5.
2 more.
Selflessness.
Nice.
Number 6. I would say, oddly enough, working on you so that you have more in your tank to give to other people, even to your situation or whatever that is, because you cannot give from an empty cup. You know what I'm saying? So one of the things that self-work, self-development, because one of the things that I feel like has even allowed me and I was gonna say Christian, me and Cedric to even get to this point for me personally is working on me. I didn't realize there were so many different, I knew some of the things that I need to work on as a person, as an individual, when we were in a relationship, but I didn't realize the depth and the root of them until I was out of that relationship. And so going through that whole experience kind of really forced me to focus on myself. It pushed me to grind harder, to pursue my real passion and career, you know what I'm saying? My goals and what I wanted to do in life. It forced me to find something, even becoming a mother, I would say, becoming a parent in general, it just pushes you there. So yeah, that self-work is important. Because we can point fingers all day, but it's just at the end of the day, it's the only thing you can control is you. You can't control anyone else.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So Cedric, I want to ask you, did you ever see yourself in this space where you would be co-parenting and not just, co-parenting separately?
No, to be honest. And I tell people that your tongue is extremely powerful, because I used to always say, I'm not going to have kids and I don't want to have kids until I'm married, X, Y, and Z. And then boom. So I think you have to really, 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 really be careful on what you say, the things that you do and don't want to happen.
Right.
And because to answer your question, it's a strong no. I never thought it. But hey, I'm here now, so I had to adjust. But yeah, I never would have fathomed in a million years that I'd be in this position. But life happens quick, and life will throw a host of curveballs at you, which it did for me. So I didn't think I'd be here, but
yes. Did either of you seek therapy to get to this space in co-parenting, or individual therapy as part of your doing your self-work when it came to this situation?
I sought out therapy from an individual perspective. I think there were a lot of things that I came to grips with as time transpired. And
you went to therapy by yourself?
Yeah.
When was this?
TMI. So I did go to therapy, and I think for me, I think it opened me up a lot because I became extremely vulnerable. And then as a man, I don't want to speak for every man, but in my opinion, most men don't know either A, that they're not possessing characteristics that would deem them as a man. Yeah. And some men think that it's okay to not be emotional. So when I was in therapy, I actually learned that it's okay to be emotional as a man, but some people think you have to be macho all the time. And I think that's one reason why her and I didn't work, because it was like, forget communication. I don't have to communicate to you. Oh, you sad, whatever, cheer up, you be straight. But at the end of the day, I learned that, that's exactly what it was.
That is how it felt.
And as I reflect back, I don't even remember us even ever hugging, to be honest with you. So it's just a lot of the soft skills that I thought that I was cool with, and I was a man and macho, I didn't have. So therapy actually really helped me in a host of areas, not only being able to co-parent and be able to be in like a working space with her, but just becoming a father, becoming a man, and just being able to say and be just more confident. And so it took me honestly, mentally, physically, and spiritually to another level.
I absolutely love the fact that you have been open about the fact that you did seek out individual therapy, because that seems to be a stigma and even a myth that Black men do not go to therapy. And I think more of them go to therapy than people realize. However, I feel like that that more of them should be open to go into therapy.
Sure.
Because therapy is so helpful, and it's so helpful, for your, not just for you personally, but for your interpersonal relationships with other people, with employees, employers, with neighbors, with friends, with strangers. It's really important. So come on, I like that you went to therapy. But you guys never sought therapy together to co-parent. Is that correct?
Not to co-parent, but we did seek therapy while we were in a relationship for a few months. But not what you said.
It started to add up.
Well, because you're a therapist, so you know that and I think the biggest thing that people need to take away in regards to like relationships and therapy, like people really only go to therapy when they're in a relationship, like when they're about to get married, like for that marriage counseling, or once it's hit rock bottom and now you're trying to dig yourself up.
Yes.
And it's like when you're already at rock bottom, you're at the bottom and you have all these different issues on top of you. You have to dig through each one to get it off of you. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna get worse before it gets better. And unfortunately we weren't able to make it through like that worst phase, because it was like
worse and worse.
What? This ain't working.
Worse and worse.
So we didn't really stick it out. But had we known that obviously it gets worse before it gets better, then maybe we would have kind of like had the mindset to be like, okay, we got to prepare ourselves for this. Even if we would have been like in a different place spiritually, to understand like when you have something on your life and God has already purposed you in a certain way, when you know the calling and you know which way you're going, then you know that some roadblocks are just gonna come. And so had we been developed a little more spiritually, then maybe we could have just been like, well, we're here. We know that God called us to be together so we can stick this out. But neither one of us was at that point. We were like, God, who is this man to me? Who is this woman to me? You know what I'm saying? But that's where I am now. I don't know about him, but like when I'm pursuing people or even things like business moves or whatever, like I'm reaching out to God to be like, what is this? Who is this? What should I do? What is this? Why is this person here? Who is he? Who is this friend to me? Who is she supposed to be in my life or whatever? I'm asking those questions. So it's different. It's different now.
Yeah. And I'm a firm believer that, before two people get together, each person individually has to not only know and understand who they are, but they have to like and love themselves before they can fully give of themselves to another person. And it's not that, you have to look for somebody to complete you. It's he can come on if he wants. It's not that you have to look for someone to complete you, but someone to complement you is more like it. Well, hello, is this Christian?
Say hi.
Hi. But yeah, so I believe that people have to understand who they are and like and love themselves individually before they can really pair up with another person and have the best go at it that they can. So many people, like you said, they wait until it's like right before the wedding. So they done put deposits down, bought the ring, all that stuff. And it's like, well, we gotta move forward. Or they wait until they hit a crisis moment in the relationship. It might be 2 months after the wedding. It might be 20, 15 years after the wedding. But they wait till they hit a crisis point when really mental health therapy is designed to help people understand and navigate the process as it's happening and before something major happens, so that they can be better prepared to handle it and not end up having to split up. I tell you, there's so many marriages that are struggling today because they are trying to hold on. They're thinking, you know what, I got all these years, I am not trying to like just dismiss that, or I'm too old to start over, or what am I going to do? I don't know who I am without this other person, even though what I do know is that I'm not happy with this person. So I'm just going to stay stuck, or I stay here for the kids' sake. There's so many relationships that would have benefited from getting counseling even before the ring is bought, because there's certain questions that should be brought up that they don't think to bring up themselves. Friends and family are not bringing it up to them because a lot of times they're like, it's none of my business, I'm going to stay out of it. But a therapist understands once they get the bigger picture of like who each person is or potentially is, where they are in their lives. They can see a bigger picture on, okay, there's a possibility they might run across these crossroads. Let me present this to them and ask how each of them individually is prepared to handle it. And this way it gets the conversation started so that you can already see, okay, if and when XYZ happens, this is what we're looking at. And you get to see how the other person is going to operate in that space. Are they going to stand up and be that rock, or be the person that's just, like got some ideas and some suggestions, or there's a go-getter, or are they going to cower down and pretend like, like avoid it, pretend like it doesn't happen, or procrastinate, or, so many other things that could become a negative in the relationship. So I really believe that therapy for couples is like huge before you even start spending that major money. And I think too, couples might shy away from the therapy for couples before they even put money down on anything, because for them, they might see it as, well, I don't want to seem like I'm going too fast. I don't want to seem like I'm being too forward. I don't want to seem like I'm speaking negativity into our relationship. And it's not about that at all. It's about being brave and being understanding and mature enough to know that there are things that can pop up in life that you're not expecting. And we have to know how each one of us is going to show up for the other person during those situations.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Something else that I wanted to chime in. So I think it was kind of, I guess, a coming to age realization for me, because, and even fast forward, the way I want to live my life now is more so proactive versus reactive. And I think when I was a lot younger, even in the relationship that Dee and I had, I think I was more so reactive, right? But I think if my mindset and my psyche was as elevated as it is now, even if, because I know sometimes people pray when things are bad, but I think for me specifically, I want to go to counseling before things are bad, right? So I can kind of maintain that level of sanity, because, and you said a perfect point earlier, if people don't love themselves and if you're not okay with yourself, how can you expect to bring someone else into your life and love them if you can't love yourself?
Right.
So to Dee's point earlier, I think the 6th point that she made was actually taking time and learning yourself and all that. For me, it was crucial, because you can think you know yourself until you're in a vulnerable situation.
Right.
So it kind of brings you out of character and out of body. So,
or when you're with a person who triggers those things and you never even knew that that's something you needed to work on.
Yeah.
Right.
I had a whole conversation about that with Kira.
Yeah.
Like,
so that's why I actually love counseling, and I've actually incorporated counseling into my budget. So I mean, like each month, I mean, like I'll go and see a counselor, and she
you go to the same one?
No, it's a different one.
No, I'm saying like each time you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I'll go to counselors, like I'll Google them and I'll just see like what they're best known as. Like the types of people that went to them. And right now I have 2 different counselors, and one's married and then one's divorced. So I like to get both sides of the spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm all for counseling. I mean, people think something's wrong with you, but for me, I think you're getting ahead of an issue before it possibly arises. And I think with the African American culture, I think a lot of people think, oh, something wrong with you because you go to counseling. It's almost to me to the point that if you're not going to counseling, I think something's wrong with you. So
right.
Like if you're hopping in, or if you meet a woman today, like, and just say y'all get serious and within 6 to 9 months or whatever, like it's very serious, like talking marriage or whatever. Like I want my man to be able to come to the table like, babe, I don't know if you're into therapy, but I've been going to someone for a few months. Like I would love for you to come meet my therapist. Like I want that's gonna turn me on. Like I want my man to be like, what have you been doing? And I'm like, I got my therapist over here too. Like which one we going to? Cause like that's a real thing. Like, how do we navigate these issues? Like, how do we navigate together before it's even like a problem?
Right. I love all of that. I love all of that. Well, guys, there are so many other questions that I want to ask you, that I want to talk about and dig deep into, but I know I promised you we wouldn't go over a certain time. And because you know what, if, once this airs, I want to make sure this is on here too, because you guys have your co-parenting goals show every Thursday at 6 p.m. on your Instagram platform. Is that correct? Okay, so tell everybody where they can find you, where they can follow you. And this way, hopefully you'll get a lot more viewerships, and people can actually see how you can work together and still, have a happy life separately, but with the same child. So.
So yeah, on Instagram, you guys can, or even Facebook and Instagram, Twitter is the co-parent goals. And we also have YouTube now. And then for me personally, it's Devorah Story on all platforms. And then
so
that's it, Cedric.
So you can find me on IDUDU Properties, and that's on Instagram. So I flip properties, and then my Instagram is _FitFlipperCed. So FITFLIPPERCED, and that's my personal. And then obviously the co-parenting goals. The co-parent goals.
Okay. All right. Nice. I love the fact that you guys created this platform, because I've watched images of you guys kind of sharing Christian, and you seem so happy together with him that I feel like there's a lot of extra happiness inside of you individually, even though you're not in a relationship where you're happy together as a couple. And I think that's beautiful to see, that people can actually exist and not be fighting or calling, the other person, my baby daddy, my baby mama, because there's so much more to the individuals than just, the donor or the incubator. Mm-hmm. And so I love that you're putting out great examples, and whatever I can do to help share that for you guys, I want to do that, because ultimately it's more about, what you're doing for the kid than it is about for what you're doing for yourself individually, because the ultimate goal in this, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to make sure that you are raising a happy, healthy, well-balanced, well-rounded child. Am I right?
That's it.
100%.
Thank you so much for having us, Tammy. We appreciate you. You were our first guest, so hopefully this will mean something a year down the line.
I hope so. All right. Well, you guys take care. Have a great show tonight, and I will be in touch. And so for everybody else, I want you to be better today than you were yesterday, and be better tomorrow than you were today. Thank you for watching Tuesdays with Tammy. If you'd like to be a guest on Tuesdays with Tammy, please contact me at www.tammyvaughn.com.